So today is January what?
27th.
2025.
There's a meeting on January 27th. That's how I know.
Yeah.
Looks like you got a room full of Emma Clark. I was wondering who that bright guy was there in the orange jacket. It's me.
Yeah, it's a little dark and orange.
Look at my eye vision.
Yeah, no kidding.
You'll move that chair closer, Bill? Why don't we move the whole table closer?
Yeah,
No.
This
Oh,
table.
just this one, Bill.
Bill, this one.
we can. All right, that's fine.
I think so.
See who you're.
Yeah, we're,
Very bright as they go. Might start getting brighter.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, John, in the room.
Where is
John's not here.
John's not here.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. It's such a small screen. I thought, oh, okay, no, that's not John. Sorry about that.
John's short, but
Don't know where he is.
Okay.
Looks like he's online. Looks like he's zooming it.
I need binoculars to see you there.
I know. So, Bill, raise your hand.
Yeah.
That's Bill.
so
That's Bill.
Okay.
That's Curtis.
Oh, there's
Floyd.
Kurt. Okay. Oh, hi.
Oh, if I took my hat off, you couldn't see me.
There we go. I can see you all. So, is John going to make it or just no?
Reed?
Okay.
He might be at home.
As far as I know, he's zooming it from home. It looks like he's logged in already.
Okay, great.
He just doesn't have his camera on.
Yeah.
there, that's better. There we go.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I think we're good to go. It seems to have settled down on your end.
Good morning.
I think we got it.
Thanks for joining us. Sorry we couldn't be there in Edgewood with you, but it looks pretty cozy there. I will bring the meeting to order, and we'll start off just with a welcome and introduction. So yeah, thank you very much for participating in the Edgewood Water Community Advisory Committee. Your input is important. We really appreciate your volunteer efforts on this CAC. I'm Chris Gainham. I'm the manager of utility services for the regional district.
Morning, my name is Alex Dubakowski. I'm the Water Operations Manager.
And I'm Ole Wolf, the General Manager of Environmental Services. I think most of you know me.
Yeah, we know who we.
And then we'll maybe hand it over to you. Director Weatherhead, you can maybe start. Everybody knows you.
All right. Yes, thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's always nice to see your faces. All right, so I think we can. I don't see an acknowledgement on this agenda, but we will acknowledge the Indigenous peoples whose lands we reside on today and where we're meeting on today. You've met the staff now, and just maybe the Edgewood committee. Could you just perhaps just put up your hands and say who you are?
Turn on.
Oh, Bill.
Just to our staff.
I'm Bill Dummett, Edgewood Volunteer Fire Department and Community Club.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill Penner, President of the Edgewood Community Club and the Edgewood Emergency Health Services Society.
I'm Curtis Hopp, Volunteer Fire Department, Community Club, YRP, and Water Services.
Thanks, Curtis.
Floyd Weber, President of the Edgewood Fire Department, Vice President of the ECC.
You?
Jennifer Ehrman, Edgewood Volunteer Fire Department. Vice President, I guess. Yep, sure.
Jennifer?
And on the screen, we also have John Flintoff, but he's not, I don't know. John, you're muted. Are you able to say hello?
Anybody
I'll text,
Facebook friends him?
I'll text them.
All right, we'll check him.
We'll do a
Okay.
text.
We'll see. He may speak up. Okay, so number 2 on our agenda is the staff reports, operations and maintenance update. So item 2.1 for operations and maintenance update, is that you, Chris, or Uli?
I'll hand that to Alex. Alex,
Okay.
operations.
Thank you, Alex.
Morning. I'll just go through some points that were completed this past year for operation and maintenance. We did our annual flushing and valve exercising. Some good news, we did not experience any issues with demand over the summer. So the capacity was of the water system and reservoir was sufficient. The leakage within the distribution system is currently at a minimum. We had some issues previously a couple of years back. Those leaks were found and repaired.
Yeah, that was good.
We had some brief communication issues with the internet connection. Those have been resolved. We installed a new Fortinet router to improve cybersecurity at the site.
New which?
A new
Say again, please.
a new router.
Oh, router.
Yeah. To improve cybersecurity at the site. In addition, there's been a number of trees that fell at the reservoir and the well site that have been removed, including one that fell right on the pump house. The area around the reservoir and well pump, we're going to have a closer look at that. We do feel that a fire mitigation program would be beneficial. So our plan is to look at the bulk of the actual trees that would impact any infrastructure have been removed, but we're having another look and seeing what else can be taken out to improve the situation up at that site.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all we have for the operation maintenance component. For the capital works update, the generator that was purchased this year is installed and has been operational since early January.
Nice.
Great.
Good.
Backup power is there now, officially.
Good news.
Yeah,
So does that kick in automatically?
it does. There is an automatic transfer switch at the site.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask if there's any questions with regard to O&M or capital.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody?
What was that again?
Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I have one. In regards to the fire mitigation around the water reservoir, we are currently getting that all mitigated right now. Did that include in and around the water tower?
So that would be, sorry, that would be specific to the Edgewood wellheads and the reservoir itself.
Right.
Site,
Yeah.
That's the regional district area.
Forestry is doing around that area.
Yeah.
But,
So you take that on yourselves.
We would look at the direct area, any trees that might impact the infrastructure. So that type, like the immediate area that's on the regional district property, that would be something that we would look at planning out some additional tree removal.
But you are aware that they're doing a prescription back there right now?
I wasn't aware, but that's good information. Yes.
They are. We're not sure how close they get to the well, but
They were within 100 feet of the well, with logs laying on the ground and across the road for one day.
Do you know which organization that is?
it was forestry, but they hired a private contractor. His name's Caleb. I do have his number.
Through the Columbia Basin, right?
I'm not sure.
No?
No, that'd be through forestry, I
Oh,
think.
forestry, okay.
Yeah, we'll see that we can reach out to them. Maybe they can incorporate that in their work.
Yeah, it might save.
Do you want the phone number of Caleb?
Would be great if
Yeah.
you have any contact information, please pass it on.
Yeah, you can pass all communication through me. My email's in that that original invite. I'll send out one after this as well, to connect with you. Just regarding the trees that have already been brought down, are they removed or are they still on the ground right now?
They're stockpiled right now?
Okay,
The road's clear.
Can I give you his number right now?
yeah, sure. So Kyle, did you say?
Caleb,
Caleb.
Caleb,
Caleb.
250
Okay.
777
Okay.
3730.
And is he Ministry of Forests or is he private contractor?
Private contractor for ministry.
Private contractor, Everest, okay.
Yeah, they've got all the equipment there and the manpower. It'd be time to do it now.
Okay,
They're gone for a month, I think, and then they're coming back.
okay.
Been there several months now.
They've been there for a full year?
No, several months.
Well, several
Actually,
months.
you should contact him because he's brought the skidder out to the YRV yard to be moved out. So
Okay,
you might want to do it sooner.
thanks for the heads up. That's
But-
why we have these.
But you're saying they are returning again?
Yes, they will be returning again.
But I don't know if his skidder's coming back.
No, I don't know. They just left the one machine up there.
I'll text him right away and have him get a hold of you or tell him not to move it right away.
Okay, yeah, we'll be in contact right after the meeting and figure out what's going on.
But we should reach out to forestry because they might just incorporate that into their.
They might.
Instead of extra contract.
Yeah, any might be a good opportunity to save some money. Yeah, thanks for the heads up.
Yep, always great to get it on their bill, not ours.
It is, it is. Trees are trees, when you've got an arborist out there.
Mhm.
Sounds like they're pretty close.
Yeah, and it is a license of occupation. It's not our land, right? So it is a crown land piece.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that would be within their tenure of this wildfire mitigation then as well. So if it's that close, that's great. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Is there any other questions for our staff on operations and maintenance update?
This is kind of talking future plans, but looking at the budget, and they're talking about replacing the water lines and removing the old asbestos lines. Now, how hard would it be, is just something to think about, to utilize the old lines for the standpipes and have them so they're able to be hooked up to the old wells, so that at least you can still use the standpipes for the extra water. They would be connected to the potable water system and just leave it so that it could be utilized for fire control in town. I was just wondering how hard that would be. It's something to think about now. We were just thinking about it there yesterday. Because if it's just a matter, I don't know, something to think about.
All
right. Well, we're
now here.
Sorry.
The lines that we are targeting are generally asbestos cement lines, and they are need to be replaced and ideally removed because they turn into they get initially very quickly soft and then turn into something that is non-repairable. So they are a long-term liability if we leave them in the ground.
So why couldn't you leave them in the ground? And as Bill said, use them for the fire protection part of it.
Because we're replacing them because they will or are in the process or will deteriorate. And once they.
Yeah.
But if you could, when you're putting in the new system, put in the infrastructure to hook the new system into the fire hydrants. If you go that route, that way we're not disturbing those pipes in the ground. You can hook up the system to the old wells, make it usable to the fire hydrants. Keep that system on the hill with the tank up in the mountain there for gravity feed, and have that as a total separate system. If it breaks down, have provisions that you just have to do a little rerouting and put into the new system.
So the issue with asbestos pipe is once it has reached end of life, A, the pipe gets soft and you can't repair it. B, as it deteriorates further, asbestos goes from non-friable asbestos to a friable stage, meaning it gets crumbly. At that stage, it becomes an environmental liability because it's not like now in this current state, we can remove the asbestos pipe as a pipe. Once it gets friable, powdery, then it would be a huge project to remove these pipes. And as we know, the road right-of-ways are only so wide. You have power in there, you have the next water line replacement, you may have other infrastructure in the ground like internet or whatever, fiber optics. You sooner or later will have to dig in that road right-of-way. And now you have a huge project on your hand to contain the asbestos that's now in a friable state. It would cost millions of dollars at that state. It's not now in that situation, but 20, 30 years from now, that's what we have. And so if we don't remove, any pipe we don't remove is going to be asbestos line. If it's a different line, it's a different story. But that we don't remove becomes a problem for the next generation to deal with.
You know what we're trying to get at, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to get a fire suppression system.
Yeah.
We're using the old wells to be able to fight fires. So even if we possibly could get new line with hydrants on them, that would make a big difference for insurance for the people, for one, and for us to fight fires with.
How many hydrants are there?
Oh, I don't know.
Standpipes?
11 standpipes.
11 standpipes.
Standpipe.
I mean,
So that's a bit of a different discussion.
Yeah.
From,
Yeah.
from the standpipes to hydrants, that is possible, but be aware that the insurance break is subject to a certification from fire underwriters. And that certification from fire underwriters is a fairly restrictive certification process. It needs to have certain flows, it needs to have certain amount of storage or combined storage and flow. And I don't think, but don't quote me on that, but from memory, I don't think your system will fulfill the requirements for fire underwriters. So we can still do the hydrants, but I don't think you get the insurance break out there. And then the other question, which I can't answer, is in regards to your firefighting capability and certification processes. That is another element. You probably know that better than me. But if I would have to take an educated guess, you probably don't get the insurance break that you're looking for.
But it would enhance our firefighting capabilities.
Yeah, but it seems.
Absolutely. And we are happy and willing to work with you in regards to that, both in regards to hydrant installation or where it makes sense, a line upsizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was my, I guess in the future, what we're wanting is if you're going to be in and taking out these old lines and everything, in the future, can we connect those old wells to the new lines? And then that way, when and if we come to what happened in 2018, 19, 20, when we had to do structural protection, we were able to use the lines.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So I think what Jennifer's saying, if we put in all new lines, is it possible to have an emergency hookup to the old wells for a temporary basis? Just
No different from what you have now, which is a spool piece that we can quickly put in and activate your valves, and in that process, then issue a water quality advisory or boil.
Yeah,
that's great.
Perfect.
So that wouldn't change from what you have now.
Okay.
Good.
Right.
So then we have one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
That
so
would
I'm
be,
just,
that would be a conversation with Interior Health. We would just have to run that by them and show the design to demonstrate that we're completely disconnected from
Yeah.
water taps not approved. Currently, those old wells are not approved to deliver potable water to that system.
No.
We know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, if you're under evacuation, there shouldn't be here, but we know. But we do know and understand about that.
So I just speak to Julie's point about the fire underwriter survey certification. The system would need other upgrades. It's not just providing hydrants. There are undersized lines. The reservoir would need to be increased in size. There's a few components there that would prevent it from, I mean, I can only speculate. I'm not the one doing the certifying, but from experience with fire underwriters, that the system would need more improvements.
I'm just going to chirp in here for a moment, Alex, as well. And I think where the idea of this comes from in our area K is the fact that Fauquier does get an insurance break. They have a brigade, very much the same as Edgewood. But the difference being that BC Hydro, when they built the town site of Fauquier, they installed the hydrants, and then it was somehow in that it would, however, was assessed of the day. That was somehow how the Fauquier people do get it wouldn't be a fully level high level of break, but it would be that sort of semi. That there, I think there's 3 levels, and I think they're in that semi-protected level, so they get a little bit of a break on their insurance. And we kind of scratch our heads now when we look at the fire regulations of today as to, whether that's, I don't know. I don't answer to whether that is still, but it is still in place. So yeah, thank you.
Two notes in that regard. Fauquier has a fairly large reservoir.
Okay.
And particularly if you isolate the golf course, you can supply water for quite a while with that large concrete reservoir. I'm not sure in how far any fire protection from or agreements with NACAST play into this. The point that you have now a generator can help, right? You're not dependent on power. It's not that a wildfire takes out your power supply and you have nothing. You can, with a generator, sustain water supply, and that helps a little bit. But it's likely still an issue of your reservoir size and the combined volume between wells and reservoir size is likely not enough. But without doing the calculations, I don't.
Well, right now, we're just working in the last few years to give ourselves some kind of security about access to water and have it quick and fast and organized.
Yeah. And we fully support that, and as we have so far, we fully support you in your firefighting capabilities, continuing to have the wells there and a quick method of connecting it. I mean, the only other thing we can see is instead of the spool piece having an air brake, right? Double valve with air brake. Costs quite a bit more and needs to be approved by IH, but that's the only other way you have firmly connected with an open valve to air and 2 valves in front and behind that air outlet. That is sometimes a method chosen, but it's not cheap because you're looking at 3 large valves, and that you need to establish in order to do so. But that's something we can discuss with the next upgrades, if that's something we incorporate or leave it with the current spool piece arrangement.
I think it's relevant.
We could get money for that. Too.
Yeah. Curtis has a question.
Well, that actually kind of answered it because I was wondering if we could have it come above ground and just take a section out for, it's not connected, but it's easier to put together.
But that is already placed, right? The spool piece arrangement is there. So the only other is without the spool piece, doing it in a technical form with 3 valves and then an open outlet.
Gotcha.
But I think the spool piece, what I've heard so far, a spool piece seems to be a workable solution for you.
One more thing. I don't know if we need to beat up the insurance thing very much because after California, I think they're just pretty fluid. Like fire insurance could get super hard to get into.
That physical disconnect in the well house now, the old well house, you can put that in within an hour.
Is that IH approved?
But that's, yeah.
Okay. Then we have to worry.
And Uli, just a question on the air brake. That would be something that if we did need to invest more money into that, would it be something that my community works funds would qualify for?
Yes.
It would, yeah. The current situation, I'll double check with our Water West supervisor, Jay Cawley. I believe it's the spool piece setup that we have does work, and it's relatively simple to execute. So, we could implement that.
And I still, Alex, I need to look into the latest requirements for community works. It may even be that hydrants meanwhile qualify. They didn't in the past, but they may now. I haven't looked at the details yet on that.
So just as an FYI, fire hydrants, as opposed to say a 2-inch standpipe that you could connect a fire hose to, fire hydrants are considerably more expensive. We usually allocate with installation about $15,000 per hydrant.
Okay.
As opposed to, with installation, you could look at like less than $5,000 for a standpipe that you could connect a hose to. So bear that part in mind as we're looking at upgrading these lines. Certainly, we're happy to install whatever the community would like. But the more important part is the distribution system to be replaced. We have tested the AC pipe, the asbestos cement pipe, and it does need to be replaced. And as Uli explained, while it's non-friable, while it's not more expensive to replace. Now, yes.
Question: When do you forecast the replacement to start?
Well, we have allocated some funding in our budget for distribution replacement. So next year we'd be looking at the design component, and in 2027, some distribution, like AC pipe removal. So that's what we've got allocated currently.
A portion of it, right?
A portion of it, yeah. Not the whole thing.
No, there's significant.
There's a lot of AC pipe. So, we're trying to address the most immediate lines that need to be replaced. Those being AC, and we're trying to work that in so that it can come from, not from borrowing, but from reserves.
Gotcha. The only reason I ask is because they're planning on repaving the highway from the ferry to Deep Creek in 27, and I will end up with a considerable amount of reapplied pavement, which we can run through a mill and then repave Edgewood. And Edgewood needs repaving as well as Fauquier, and I just don't want to do that before you replace your lines.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we would do that in conjunction with any paving project like we had done previously, coordinate with with MOTI and try and replace those lines in conjunction and do a cost share because, you know, when you remove water lines, obviously you're removing sections of pavement. So that's really good information to have. I'll reach out to the area manager at MOTI and see what the paving schedule is and see what we can do to coordinate for pipe replacement at the same time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I just wanted to throw it out there that it was planned.
Do you know if that's a shave and pave or a road reconstruction?
It is not. It's not hot in place. It's grind out and replace. So
Yeah.
a fair amount of wrap.
Yeah.
They don't have a set date, but it's been talked about a lot.
Yeah, the thing with the MOTI is that it happens quite last minute. So it's, you know, as you know, our budget cycle is our budget cycle and it's approved by the board in March, April. So it's coordinating with MOTI can be a bit tricky, but certainly they may have more information now. I'll coordinate with them, see what they have.
If it is a maybe, then maybe in the next or final version, we have more than just the design, or maybe have something for road crossings in it.
We could, yeah.
Actually, I'll just say too that the MOTI did a bunch of the recycled pavement on Highway 6 between Nakusp and Burton last year, but they had the contractor had a major accident and WorkSafe shut them down. So there's about 40 kilometers. No, I can't remember what the stretch, not 40, 20. There's a stretch on one side of the overall width of the highway that they have to come back and do. And they were doing some of the tributary roads last year as well. And so we do know that it is in the work queue for MOTI to be sending contractors back to do more pavement work next year. But I think it would be earlier in the year than later in the year. But that's just something to know.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that, Director Weatherhead, and see what the plan is. Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Getting back to the cost of replacement and the new lines, are the residents of Edgewood going to bear some of the cost of that replacement? They already pay $2,200 a year for water. Is that going to increase their yearly rate?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And as you see, the current capital plan only has two fairly small projects. $300,000 doesn't get you very far, right? So it's relatively small stretches that we replace for that dollar amount. So right now we are working within the means of what you are generating for reserves, so without borrowing. And as long as the integrity of the asbestos pipe is reasonable, we can work on that pace. We are currently assuming within the next 10 years, our asbestos pipes are going to go to a state where it becomes very expensive and risky to maintain it. So like I said, right now, two smaller projects of $300,000 each in the budget that we can sustain from what you have and contribute to reserves without borrowing. But in the next year or two, we can have that discussion. Do we want to go to a borrowing or have to go to a borrowing scenario or whatever? We have shown very mild increases of 4% a year. So
Yeah, we've got a bump up in the parcel taxes for 2025.
for 25 at
Yeah.
5%, and then
And then down
but
to
then it is
1.5.
1.5 and 0 in the
flat.
following years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is an ongoing discussion that we will have year after year and say, hey, what is the break history? What is the comfort level staying with this pace? Or do we need to accelerate? Or what is the community's feeling in that? So this is part what we meet about to get feedback from you guys, how comfortable you are with their current system.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I think there's still 1.9 kilometers of AC pipe in the ground there, so significant.
Yeah.
More than half the system.
More than
I
half
think
of
it's
the
more than
system.
half. I mean, I can confirm that, but off the top of
Is
my
that
head,
in Focus?
300,147
is the total.
of the total, yes.
And then
more
I think
than
it's
half.
1,900 for the AC.
So
Go
I have
ahead.
a question. I kind of watched the progress in folk here going along, and you guys went back and forth whether you're going to replace, like, take out the old asbestos pipe or leave it in the ground, because now you have new and old beside by side, and it's a little bit onerous to dig up the old beside the new. So there was talk on one of the meetings that we were going to not take it out of the ground.
There is a board approved policy for when to leave the asbestos pipe in the ground versus when to take it out. So there is kind of a board approved, procedure to follow and decision matrix there. We can certainly send that out to you as a follow up to this meeting. And whether or not these situations, these individual pipe segments would be eligible for either leave in place or remove.
So the two main factors are, so if asbestos pipe is under a paved section of road, we typically allow to leave it in because we can safely assume that this road continues to stay paved and nobody's digging around it and creating a problem in the future.
Yeah.
Where it is outside of the paved section, we typically take it out. The only time we do not is if it exceeds a certain threshold of cost in comparison to the new line. So there's a percentage there, and go ahead, Teresa.
So in that board policy, I recall that one. So Uli, would our committee have a voice in that approval that through that board policy, or would it only just be my voice at the table that would?
You or staff can forward the committee's concerns or requests. There is no formal voice there, but can forward that. Keep in mind that the board will look at the liability piece going forward for the regional district and is likely looking for some consistency throughout the 18 systems that we manage. And this is particularly a important discussion. You have 1.2 kilometers systems like Burton or Edgewood is nothing but asbestos pipe, 100%. So that's where it becomes tricky, right? I totally understand when you get into that section and you are still a little bit away from that, but in Folkview and Burton, we are nearing the $3,000 mark per year, and we are not done yet. So we will have to have community meetings, have these tough discussions, what we do there. And that includes likely a board discussion to some degree too. But if I would take a guess, the board is likely trying to stay consistent and minimizing liability for future generations. But again, let's see how that goes. And if you feel like you want your director or staff to forward this concern to the board, feel free to do so. I have no problems bringing it forward. I struggle with a strong support for it. While I sympathize for the cost, I do not think it is wise to push it into a unknown cost for a future generation, right? I mean, when this becomes friable, now you do a full soil exchange under likely some kind of dust mitigation, have to put all of that soil that surrounds that pipe, need to in some form contain it, all with the crews fully suited up and masked up, and that becomes a very expensive project to do something like that. Yes, it won't affect a generation like me, but a generation like Alex or younger will certainly
Definitely younger.
be affected by it, right? And I don't know. how
And there's no way to encase it where it's at. It would
You-
be a less
the
costly
only-
project than removing it.
The only thing we do is that we inject grout to stabilize it from the inside, but it still doesn't, it slows down, but doesn't eliminate the crumbling on the outside,
Of
right?
course. Mhm.
So we inject that for lines under highway as one measure to somewhat stabilize it, but it is not a solution.
And the
Go ahead, Curtis.
You replaced all the lines to the houses in Fauquier as well. Do they have asbestos feeds as well, or like why did they? Because crossing the road every time was a big cost.
No, those were your typical copper service lines. Those are not.
So why did you replace them though? Did you put new into
Yes,
every house?
yeah. I mean, there's a service life to those lines as well. So if you're
Oh, okay.
if they're crossing the road, we don't do work on private property. So the service lines, at property boundary to the residents would be the responsibility of the property owner. But certainly we would replace our section from the corp stop to the curb stop. That section of service line would be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And have you experimented with lateral drilling on that, or do you have to dig up the road every time?
We've done directional drilling, we've done air molding, we've done just your standard, excavation. So yeah, it really depends on the substrate of the road and what the material is like. For example, one of our systems, Balfour, is basically a big sandbox. So air molding is very easy and inexpensive. But then we have other systems, say for example, Duhamel, where it is a boulder field. So we have no option but to excavate. So it really just depends on what the soil's like there.
Well, it's good to know you have explored all the options, that's for sure.
We try to make it as inexpensive as possible, honestly.
And we have done
Sorry.
a few systems where we have worked parallel with the paving projects. But we haven't found quite as much efficiency as we hoped. Some of these were crossing major highways. The requirements for highways with these excavation projects is often we restore the road to a higher standard than it was originally constructed. So it becomes fairly expensive. Then the timing, as Alex said, sometimes they change because of budget reasons, which sections they actually pave. And so we do last moment changes of projects. Doing a road crossing before and then have the contractor coming back, the double mobilization and so on costs money. So sometimes the savings weren't as high as we had hoped by doing it, but we look at all our options, taking advantage of the paving at that time.
For sure.
I just have one more question. How many other communities within our area, or K or whatever, have the asbestos pipes?
There's more systems that have it than not that we manage. So all the older systems from that generation have some in it.
Yeah, the BC Hydro sites, I recall a lot of them.
All
of them.
All four of them have it either complete or to a large degree.
Yeah, like
All the older systems that we have may be Duhamel or Slocan has only steel, but
Erickson.
Erickson.
Erickson is large. Lister has none. None. I think they replaced them.
Yeah.
So I would say about half of our systems have asbestos pipe.
It's unfortunate that you took it over from Hydro just before it had a termination date. They should have to kick in for that.
Yeah, I mean, when we did the negotiations with BC Hydro at the time, what we knew, we thought we were relatively generous in what we get from them in regards to reserves from them. We did get some, varied quite a bit. Some systems, I think like West Robson, actually, we got quite a bit. But in retrospect, yeah, we could or should have asked for more, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
when
to that.
when we speak of liabilities, Uli, is there down the road and in the time that we've had since, was it 2010 that we took over, or 2012? I can't remember what year. Is there anything that we get to have with regional district to, you know, sort of go back to Hydro and say, really, we need you to be liable for some of this? There's nothing we have.
The agreement's kind of a as is, where is, following the handover documents from the engineer.
We can and will go back to them and have a discussion in good faith and say, guys, look, this wasn't anticipated. We should have had more. I don't think that will result in them saying, oh, here's another 5 million. But what we are hoping to have the discussion about is that they won't object a differential rate schedule.
Ah,
But I don't know, that's a negotiation piece. And again, I don't even know if the local managers can make that decision. That probably has to be escalated way up to a similar level that we had the original discussions about the transfer. But let's see. I hope that over the course of this year we can have that discussion with BC Hydro and see where we get with it.
I think it's always worth you know, keeping the conversation alive with BC Hydro anyways, because you know there's numerous you know, promises that also, you know, that didn't come true for the people of Area K. So
When you're putting in the new system, I would like to see if we can put the water meters in at that time. The city of Vancouver is legislating now all new construction and all renovation permits. Water meters have to be put in their system. And I think Edgewood could be used as a test case and would help people be more aware of water use.
So, generally speaking, we are fans of metering, but it is expensive. So I think we are likely reliant on grants for that.
we have done a pilot, haven't we? We piloted one system already, did we not?
We have several systems that are metered.
Yes.
So we have Belfer, we have the newer systems, Grandview and Roseberry. We are currently working on agricultural and industrial institutional metering in Erickson. Who else?
Lucas Road.
Lucas Road. Yeah. So 4 or 5 systems that are currently metered. They were the newer ones. We were already was a demand that we made as part of that Roseberry Grandview. In Belfer, we got a significant grant that almost fully paid for the metering. The same with what we are doing in Erickson right now was a grant, or various grants actually, including Community Works, that we used for that purpose. Alex is working right now on a grant application for universal metering for Erickson, so including the residential sector.
I'll just speak to that a little bit. So per our bylaw, we are permitted only to install meters at property boundary in a meter pit. In fact, that is through experience with one of our systems where we did 40% cut-in, which is installation in the house, and the remaining at property boundary. That is the best location. you capture the most amount of leakage there. That service line to your residence is then metered, and we're able to, notify you should there be a continuous event or event. So that increases the cost significantly because those meter pits do require excavation for the installation. I would price tag that type of installation at anywhere between $5,000 and $8,000 per service. So it is not
Does it make a difference that we have already pits with backflow prevention and only need the meter in a pit?
We could certainly look at that. If there is already pits there for the backflow, backflow prevention devices, we could potentially look at that. But the cost is, even at that, where we're installing just the meter and MIU, there is the installation cost. You would at least be looking at $2,000 per service, even if we were able to recycle or repurpose those pits. So it's not, we really do like metering. It has helped us find so much leakage. But it is a cost that the community needs to be aware is a significant cost, and grant funding is available, but it's not, we can only do so much in terms of applications. There's a lot of communities looking for the same grant funding.
Yeah. So the much.
When you look at the weather patterns we're experiencing nowadays, long periods of no rain in the summer here, snowpack is maybe a half an inch on the ground right now.
Yeah, but that's here.
That's here.
It's reasonable up top.
But still, it's happening. And it's time to be proactive.
I couldn't agree with you more.
What about having Columbia Basin Trust chime in here? They own some ownership here.
I would just like to ask also, Alex, if you could tell us what are the ongoing operational costs of water meters that would end up falling on the ratepayers?
Certainly. So there is the additional costs of the software, the programming, the AMI platform. So that is generally, it depends on which supplier manufacturer you use, whether it's Neptune or Beacon. We have both. We use a Beacon platform, which is a certain manufacturer, and that is a per endpoint cost. So it's typically, I think, about $1.80 per quarter. It runs out to about, depending on the connections, you would probably be looking at, gosh, this is a really rough estimate, so don't hold me to it. Probably about $50 a meter per year in the software costs, maybe less, maybe 20 actually.
Yeah, it's probably less, but you end up with a higher cost. We do quarterly billing based on meters because it's just more efficient to see on a quarterly basis what you consume instead of just once a year, and you can respond to it. It does come with a software that allows you with an app to see your consumption, so you can at home check what is consumed and where you are at.
Wow.
Why we want the curbside installation is that we have seen significant leakage between house and curbside, or people that have a yard hydrant and use slots in that fashion that we then can't meter, right? And so that creates then a disparity when you try to use the metering for a billing purpose, and misses a lot of the leakage. Something like we had, when was that, last year, when we had a YRB, the yard leak, right? You don't catch that with an in-building installation. You only catch that if you have your meter at the curb.
Right.
Putting me in the backflow cans would be the best for sure.
Yep.
Burton School has a meter. Does Edgewood School have a meter?
I can.
I don't know.
But
Sorry, just to recap on the cost. If we estimate it's a monthly charge, it's about $2 per meter, $1.80, $2 per meter per month.
Okay.
It is a per month. Okay. So it'd be about $20 or so.
Yes.
Fire department has a meter.
and the lifespan of meter and a meter.
Yeah, and then you have to consider replacement costs. So lifespan of the meter is typically, they have a 20-year warranty on most of these meters, so it's a 20-year lifespan. And so that's something to consider. Then you'd have to put away, additional monies for the replacement cost of that meter.
Yeah, I mean, if you did 93 meters in Edgewood at $7,000 a meter, it's over $600,000 of new assets in the.
Well, those ones are mostly residential, so
Well,
I
yeah.
would place it at about 5,000.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. With the more, the bigger the meter, obviously the larger the costs, but Edgewood is primarily residential. So I would throw about a $5,000 figure per meter. If we could remove this, I don't know if there's enough space in the meter pit with well, we would remove that. So that was
probably not. It's probably small pits, but
Yeah.
still, at least we don't need the large size to accommodate the backflow prevention. But the other piece to it is there's a small staffing component because the meter read happens fairly efficiently, so it's more or less a drive-through through the area.
No, it's all online. So these would be AMI. The Tremble units are kind of sunsetted technology. We do in one of our systems, but only because it would cost too much to convert it to an AMI or satellite type meter read. So what it does, it captures the meter read twice a day, and then it displays it on an interface of like portal, so you can see. It's not real-time data, but it's near real-time. Like you get the data twice per day, and you can read your water consumption down to the 15-minute interval. It's quite spectacular, the technology that it's progressed to for metering water now. And there's all sorts of benefits, including the customer can set. So the customer gets to see all this information too. The customer gets to set leak alerts. So in the event of a continuous flow event, when say you're away on vacation, you would get a text message or an email, however you set it up, that, water is being used at this rate. So you would set that up yourself. So there's all sorts of benefits to metering.
That just reminds me of something else, and it's a little off topic, but I just learned that when we do go away from our homes, that and I can't verify whether this is true or not, but we are to be shutting off our water systems just in case of a flood in our home when we're away. And this is through our insurance companies. And so it's not something I have verified yet, but is that something you're knowledgeable about?
Yeah, so from my insurance policy and what I've heard generally is as long as you have somebody checking your home every 2 days, I believe, is the general request from insurances, you're okay.
Yeah.
But what I don't know is
There's also new devices that you can get. They've been out for a few years now.
That shut off.
They're insurance. They don't shut off. I mean, there are systems that shut off, but there's clamp-on devices that you can put on your water line that will either flag you if there's a sudden increase in water and nobody's home, therefore you've got a leak. They may shut things off now, but they may introduce a little bit of extra risk into the system as well because you cut into the line.
But I would wonder if the app would eliminate somebody having to check your home if
Insurance
you can
provider
through the app, if the insurance providers would accept that.
I know that they do for the clamp-on meters, so I'm sure that they would for
There's various products out there, and they have been for a number of years, that monitor and alert you to continuous flow events.
Yeah.
So this is one of those items, but you would have to approach your individual insurance companies to see if that would be enough. I think it does need to have like a shut off. Like some of these do have an automatic off valve. This is just an alert. So I don't know. That would be dependent on your insurance company.
So I have one question, because somebody asked me in the community about this, that during an evacuation, they're told to shut off their water, right, underneath their house or wherever that water is shut off. In case my house, it's underneath my trailer, I would shut that off. But what happens when a fire comes over burns you right down to the ground, and then burns that water line and all of a sudden it's free flowing because the valve, everything is gone.
Yeah, they had that.
That's the problem that they had in West Kelowna, was it last year during the fire? They had homes burnt with water lines.
So the question is,
and then a huge reduction in water pressure, making firefighting difficult. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
So the question from the lady was, in case we evacuate and I turn my water off, does the regional district come in when our community is under emergency, shut off the water all to our houses from the street?
They would have.
Because it didn't happen last time, but whatever.
Yeah.
That was a question from a resident.
Good question.
Probably not. Simply because some people still, especially if they stay in there, continue to try to keep things moist. I mean, the water system is only capable of so much of that type of watering down your property. We haven't really thought about that, and we would have to weigh the pros and cons of doing so.
Yeah, it's just a question that somebody stopped and asked me in the middle of winter, in case this summer they shut everything down, then they leave and something bad happens, and then all of a sudden water is just free flowing out of everybody's water lines.
I have a question to
know
go with
from
that.
West Kelowna that the fire service was shutting off those sites that obviously had, damaged water.
Utility do that, Bill?
Yeah, we got valves.
Oh,
They
sorry.
shut off.
If you try to talk one at a time, because when we're talking over each other, it's harder to hear each of you. What did you have to say, Curtis, and then Bill?
Just asked Bill if the fire department had the capability to shut off the backflow pits by themselves, and he says they do. So.
Okay. Okay.
So if we, like the fire department, if somebody's house burns down and it's flowing water, they can shut it off.
Okay.
We can call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And no extra cost.
No extra. Okay, well that's an answer.
Thanks to volunteers. Okay, well, this is really an awesome discussion. Do we want to continue this discussion or work on to the Capital Works update from our staff now?
Sure.
Move on.
Move on.
We've completed the section 2. The next, I think, would be.
Yeah, the next item would be the review of the adopted financial plan. With being on this computer, I don't know if I've got access to that. Just bear with me for a moment here.
Just off topic, but maybe we'll have more money if we're a state.
Move to the states if you want that.
I tell you, that's a negotiator.
Oh, Trump in his 51st state.
Oh, geez.
Very good. You picked it up quick.
I think we'll be spending money on a dumpster fire. No, I don't have the agenda on here. Just
Well, the way I see it,
it is. I have the agenda package
he's going to go all in.
here because I'm not logged in.
Oh, we don't want me to do that ever again. Yeah.
Sure you can.
Oh, it's not on the agenda package.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was in the,
It's on the agenda.
I see.
it is. Yeah.
And
They're taking a little break.
yeah, here, you know what? I can just bring it up.
So
Did anybody want to take a break? Is that where we're,
Maybe 2 minutes. I'm just going to
take a 2-minute break? Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back at 10:35.
Yeah.
I'm going to beat Bill up on Trump.
Yeah.
So you see what he did with Colombia? He sent all those illegal migrants to Colombia,
Oh, really?
and they wouldn't let them land.
Oh.
So
Send them back, and now they want their commercial airlines.
no. So what they did is they said, "Hey, you don't take those migrants. We're not buying nothing from you, and we're going to tear the shit out of you." And they said, "Send them down." And they said, "We'll send the presidential plane to pick them up." So the way I see Canada going is that he's going to go all in and say, hey, you either become a state or we will buy nothing from you ever again. And that is like 80% of our economy. Well, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. And you know what's going to happen? Is Alberta's going to say, yeah, we want to be a state.
No.
The way she's suckled into Trump.
Absolutely.
Change it a little bit now.
Absolutely. And she did that with the loggers in the Cascade. All the loggers stuck together and said, look, Pocatello, we want more money. And they said, okay, we're all sticking together. And then Pocatello went to one person and said, okay, we're going to pay you extra money to log this really nice block. And they went, and it broke up the whole thing. So you wait. He is, you know how he did TikTok? He said, if I say no to TikTok, that means that it's worth nothing. If I say yes to TikTok, it's worth billions. So if somebody buys half a TikTok and we get the other half for free, we can keep TikTok. Like, he is shrewd. So be careful.
We should all start a GoFundMe to get rid of Trump.
Are you
No,
talking?
we need a GoFundMe to have.
Literally.
I heard it.
Literally.
No, we need a Trump in Canada.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Yeah, we need somebody with knackers.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, World War III.
Because we got nothing there that's got knackers.
No.
We live in the best
Sure,
country in the
guy
world.
was
Political.
pretty baldy,
Who?
but Oreo, whatever the hell his name is.
Polyev?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. Polyev is a
He's a bit of a
wild card.
bulldog, huh?
You don't know what he's going to do.
He's another
yeah.
Trump.
That's, well,
Miniature Trump.
that's what you need.
Change the total subject, you were talking about disposal of contaminated.
Do you listen to
soil
this,
and everything.
Teresa?
So,
I'm just so glad I'm nonpartisan politics.
That's
Um,
the one, right?
No, this is, we usually go through the board adopted plan, just for,
I think actually there's a lot of stuff. that
action
we
grades
don't
and,
know.
yeah.
Down.
And then I've got the PDF one of the
Here's
one.
your-
that
Go
last.
down the old Bell Pole yard, you'll see a big, huge mound, like bigger than this building.
Yeah.
Big mound, and then you know where the recycling center is for auto vehicles?
Yeah.
Behind the veterinarian clinic,
Yeah.
you'll see another big, huge mound. Those are mounds that will forever be there, taken care of, with this here, creosote and asbestos.
They can't get rid of it.
No, that's where they moved it, because it's right there, they're taking all the decontaminated soil, putting it there. And what's in that soil is tons and tons and tons of chicken shit. Yep.
Oh, because it works against it.
Yeah, and it breaks it down or whatever. And you'll see in those mounds, they have these pipes that come up. And now you can hardly tell the mounds are there because they've grown over with grass and things like that.
They're still there.
They're still there. And they'll probably be there
Where's that?
Like we're back.
down by the fire department, past the fire department in the
Okay.
mill site.
I'll start back on item.
That's decontaminated.
I just wonder, can anybody hear? This is John chiming in now. Can you people hear me now?
Yes.
Hi,
John. Thank
I
you
just
for
want to
joining.
send my apologies. I've been here the whole time. I'm just not doing this properly.
Oh, can you hear me okay, though? If you followed along, John?
Yes, I have. I've been here right from the beginning.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any questions, John?
Not at this point in time. Don't just listening, being the newbie, just listening.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to thank Teresa for all her help with the broadband.
You're most welcome. It was quite a journey. Mhm.
Yeah, it's nice to have CBC back.
I'm glad your CBC radio is working good too. Yeah.
Thanks, Teresa.
So yeah, I think we're all back now. Let's maybe get back to the agenda. So item number 3 are the financial plans. As per typical with these meetings, we just have a quick overview of the board adopted financial plan, the 2024 to 2028 financial plan. And then we present to you the draft financial plan, the 2025 budget, and the 5-year outlook going forward. So in front of you now is the board adopted 2024 to 2028 financial plan. I can certainly answer any questions with this. It gives a summary overview of the main budget items. for the service. And then of course, with the draft budget, for 2025 up to 2029, you see the details, as well. So, if there's any questions on this plan? No, probably not. Okay,
I just have one question, John, just in case anybody else has noticed down at the bottom and net changes for the year, it was proposed for 2027 that you had a negative balance of $155,722. Is that that we're going to see something other than that in the next draft that you put forward, but is that what that was, a proposed deficit? Is that what we were seeing there?
Sorry, where's that?
Just on the lower right-hand side.
Yeah, the lower right.
oh, sorry, yeah, there. That was for the 2020.
That's the reserve balances.
That's the reserve balance. That's just drawing down your reserve balance.
Okay, thank you.
So what that means is, and I haven't looked if that's correct, but what that would mean is that we are contributing less than we are taking out. So the reserve shrinks by $155,000. My guess is that we take $300,000 out and we contribute $144,000. The difference between the two is the $155,000. So your reserve, we put $144,000 in, take for the project $300,000 out, so your reserve shrinks by $155,000.
Okay, all right.
And just bear with me and I'll share with you.
This is what they're negative.
A question under user fees there. They're fairly constant until about 2025, and then a bit of an increase. Is that just an increase in the rates paid by the residents, or is that possible new residents moving in the area paying rates? It just seems like probably a possible rate increases.
So for clarity, we are looking right now at our 2024 budget.
Yeah, I've got the numbers up. This is a look in the past.
Yeah.
So if you want to see what we proposed for 2025 out to 2029, I can bring up the next sheet.
Oh, okay. No,
Yep, that would be great.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry.
No.
Okay. Good.
I'm just gonna sit here.
Want to make my spot?
If you want to move back, you've got enough. If you move back, or I'll just sit beside you here.
You can have this spot.
No, I think this is good.
This is an interesting table. You didn't send us this one in our package though, did you?
Yes, I did.
Did you? Oh, yes, it's so tiny. That's the one I couldn't read, right?
Yeah, sorry about that. I can.
That's okay.
As
We couldn't even blow it up.
Have to decide how to split these out. There is some minor changes to this. We're in the middle of budget season, so there are some changes that were made last night. So this is reflective of those changes. Those changes did not involve any increase to your rates though, or any increase to your parcel taxes. So they're simply a matter of reserve contribution. I'll send out this updated sheet, but substantial changes aren't, there's no substantial changes between what you've got really in this.
Yeah,
besides
there is in
reserve.
regards to reserve contribution and environmental services fee.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll work off this one. I think Uli mentioned kind of at the beginning of the meeting. We're looking at 4% increases in rates from 2025 out to 2029. Inflationary increases and whatnot.
I'm just going to point something out to Bill Penner. Bill, when you get this new copy, you'll have to look at it online, and then you'll have to increase the size of your screen online because these do not print off large. It's very hard to get them to print larger. So,
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we get down to the parcel tax increases. We've applied a 5% parcel tax increase for 2025. It's a 1.51% increase in 2026 with 0% increases further out because we've maxed out the per parcel increase. With other systems, like the system, we may look at increasing that per parcel contribution and the total requisition limit, but that's not included in this budget as it hasn't happened yet.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up.
6 up from the bottom.
On that sheet where it says church,
Yes.
that hasn't been a church for 20 years.
Well, not quite that.
Not quite that long, but close.
It's private
That's
residential.
private residence.
Oh,
Interesting. So that's a new resident then.
it's been a resident for a long time.
15 years.
At least.
Oh, so before we took it over?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll confirm with our system numbers whether that's still a church or not. I believe it was, so we'll
Yeah, but
make that correction.
yeah, so there's a couple steps to this because there should be an previous or an owner attached to that, which
That
then.
was the Anglican church.
Sorry?
That was the Anglican church.
They are the owner.
They were, and now it's got sold once and then it's got sold again. So it's.
Okay, we'll confirm ownership.
Yeah, so that's the important question, is it's the original owner from the time we took it over because that triggers the rate holiday.
Yeah.
And as soon as there's a new owner, even if it is one religious group selling to a second religious group, it would be still a new owner and would lose the rate holiday. So that's why it's important who owned it when and did that stay the same. So it's less important because it's the same rate if it's, I believe it's the same rate as residential.
It's not.
Yeah, so it doesn't make a difference from that side, but
Okay.
the question is the holiday piece.
They should be grandfathered. They're not.
Possibly, Bill, they could be. What Uli's expressing is depending on when the latest owner took ownership of that, was there a change in ownership after Regional District took it over?
Yes, there was. Twice.
So then that person would feasibly not qualify for the rate holiday because there wouldn't be a way to grandfather that in.
That's correct.
Okay, well, I'll confirm that.
Is recreational to do with the ballpark and that?
I believe so. I've got the list not readily at hand here, but I can confirm that.
Or could it be the Legion?
No,
Legion.
Legion.
Nope, you got the hall below that, yeah.
Yeah, I can confirm what the recreational parcels are.
So right now, you have 67 residential dwellings on rate holiday credits, that's what I'm seeing? And then the rest,
But 62 for rate holiday parcel tax assessments.
Okay.
So here is the number.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, sorry.
62.
Okay.
If you're good with
I
that.
noticed you don't have the cemetery on here. And that's the original owner.
Do we pay for water?
No, you don't.
I wonder if you're using your cemetery for recreational purposes.
Yeah, I recall seeing the cemetery is not one that
That would be debatable.
applied for, but I recall seeing it in one of the categories, so I can confirm what cemetery fits in there.
They're all the same people.
Yeah, the original owners of the committee.
Bit of a silent vote.
Uh,
Death under a town.
It's in your town.
Love you all.
Silent vote.
Give you the.
I've got the now we pull everything so I can pull numbers.
So it's interesting, we were talking about how the remedial project of asbestos pipes, and yet increases going, like any kind of fee increase going down over the time frame. And so it's just that it's not budgeted in, is what it looks like to me, the asbestos remediation.
We have a general budget and try to accommodate it within. We won't know really what the cost of that stretch of pipe is until we have done the design. Then what we typically do in the tender is that we make the asbestos pipe removal optional. And then based on the cost that we see for that item, we can determine A, do we have enough budget? B, is this excessively high price and we don't do it or do it at a later stage.
Yeah, I'm just gonna quickly move down because we have added the asset management plan dollars and data in here, so oops. So your asbestos pipe removal estimate with the current asset management plan in 2023 dollars is $1.175 million roughly. So that's the number that we work off now, but as Uli said, those numbers get updated, we get
And this is something that this isn't something immediate. This is over asset management, meaning that this is the collection of monies toward replacement of the system down the road.
Yeah,
25 years.
This is our book value essentially for replacing those AC pipes based on today's dollars.
And that is something we may have to look at because if it's 1.2 kilometers, that's $1,000 per meter. We have seen a lot lower cost in previous projects.
Yeah,
so that cost may come down substantially.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was my next
question. From year to year with contractor supply pricing for replacement of these things. So,
how many meters of pipe do you have to replace? Do you know approximately?
Let's just bring that up. Just bear with me. I'm just opening up another sheet on my end.
No worries.
Removal.
2
Want me to share?
Oh, that's fine.
2.35 kilometers.
You can move that entire box.
Yeah, I will. They can't see this right now. Anyways.
That's okay. Just seeing number, that's fine. 2.5
Yeah,
kilometers.
2,350 meters of AC pipe.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So and then
It's the majority of your system.
and then that make that number that Chris just shared makes sense, because then you're in a $500 per meter, and that's on an average about what we have seen in the past.
So it's 3.2 kilometers total of distribution system and 2.3
Asbestos pipe, so 2/3.
Yeah.
But we have not yet factored, reading this, Chris, it looks like we haven't yet factored in the cost of this asbestos pipe. So in the reflection of people's rates and parcel tax, we would then know at what point, how would we know how this reflects in those things? Meaning time-wise, next year or?
Well, I mean, as we roll out capital plans for replacement, update our replacement costs for the pipe, we get a better idea.
Okay. And in the I didn't see it in here, but was there not 50,000, I believe it was, budgeted for the decommissioning of that well that's up on the higher up
That's a reservoir, Teresa.
reservoir? Sorry.
Reservoir in the capital plan here.
And is that a high priority thing? Was that something that was in this particular budget?
It's in this budget because we have a license of occupation for that land. It's Crown land that reservoir is sitting on.
Right.
So best practice is to decommission, remove the old reservoir and bring that land to the province.
One factor that may play into this too, and I have not seen, I've only seen pictures of it, but I believe the reservoir is in a decent shape. A couple of years ago, when we intended to remove it, there was actually interested parties in it that would have
Salvaged.
Yeah, would have salvaged it. So that would have paid for a big portion of the removal. But I don't know if that's still the case and if that's true. But that's one consideration, doing it sooner than later.
Could we use it for agricultural purposes? Is there ALR butts right up against the town side?
You mean
Uli,
with removing, leaving it?
Keeping it.
Question from Bill Penner.
Uli, are you aware that the power is still right up to that reservoir?
Yes.
Yes.
Energized? It's energized?
Yes. Well, I don't know. We do know that there's power to that reservoir. Yes, we are aware of that. Yeah. So
Okay.
that would be, something that we would look into.
The other thing we need to still check, or maybe you know it, is other uses. There was once radio equipment up there. Is there a weather station up there?
No,
No.
there's nothing.
The other tricky part to this is that there's likely leaded paint on that. Not likely, there is leaded paint on that. So there is a little bit of remediation that's required
On the outside?
on the outside.
Paint over it.
Well, that is a solution sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my solution when I was in the building.
Not let it work.
We could do a little.
Teresa, just to your question, I don't think the tank has any use being up there anymore.
Okay. But you guys would know much better than I would know. Yeah.
And it's very hard to get to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you can only walk to it.
Okay.
So, you know what, we initially need to see anyhow how feasible it would be to remove it, and if the 50,000 is even enough, right? As you said, it's hard to get to. It's to some degree manual or helicopter, or you have to build a road or whatever to get to it, to remove that. And it's not just the reservoir, it is as well the pipe that's in that old insulation box coming down that would have to be removed as part of that. So
And I think that's AC pipe.
that is
I
AC.
think that is, I recall.
Yeah, let's not look it up.
Okay,
That
but yeah.
gets us too deep into
Yeah.
details. But we still have to look at the feasibility of this whole thing, and it may or may not occur. So let's gather a bit more information. We get back to you on the details.
Thank you, Uli.
No problem. you have any easy questions?
Sorry.
These are all not good questions.
Uh,
Oh my God.
maybe some notables as far as operating expenses. We've applied a 1% uplift to operations salaries for the 2025 budget. That's based on every year we do a cost of living increase. CRD does a cost of living increase with its staff. Every 2 to 3 years, I believe it is, the HR department does an industry scan that looks at a number of comparable businesses, both government and private, and comparable positions with those corporations, and then determines where our staff sit relative to others. And that then factors into an appropriate cost of living increase for that the majority of the staff group at the ERD. This year, that number ended up at 1%. It's lower than inflation, so I mean has a modifying effect on the salary budget here. Again, salaries are a minor component of the overall budget, but yeah, that's the information that kind of went into that calculation. We don't have a view going forward, so what we've done is applied a 2.7% increase, followed by a 2% increase each year out to 2029 for those salaries. Same with the other, most of the other issues or items here. 2.7% increase on insurance, followed by 2% inflationary assumption moving forward.
It's the whole thing.
It's the whole
Yeah,
thing,
it's
yeah.
everything but salaries.
Everything but
You have to
salaries, sorry, yeah.
to it.
Yeah, sure.
That line item on contract services at 34,000, is that for Dave Mang?
So a portion of that is for Dave Mang, yes. The remaining
Okay.
is for, other contract services that we might utilize in the system over the year.
Okay,
Is there any other questions on the operating expenses?
not from my end.
No.
Okay, I'm happy to speak to the capital expenses as well. So we've already touched mostly on this. Outside of the standby generator, there were some additional costs associated with that are, spilling over into this year. That's primarily the electrical connections and work that was done. So that 15,000 is being budgeted for this year for the overruns. And of course, the reservoir removal we've already discussed. And again, the distribution system upgrades and AC pipe removal we've discussed. That's what we've got allocated currently. Those figures might change depending on what MOTI brings to us. So we'll stick with this for now. It might change.
And you mentioned a cost share, Alex, and so that means MOTI contributes to the actual.
So whatever road rehabilitation that's required, there's always going to be a component when you're replacing water mains and digging up, removing AC pipe. There's always going to be some component of road rehabilitation required. So that cost share would be then us contributing toward their project.
I see.
At a certain percentage, it's usually depends on how much of the road we would have removed.
Gotcha.
So with the asbestos line that's still in Willow Street and Folkier, is that going to be removed now that the new one's in?
I'm sorry, say again?
The asbestos line that runs down from the reservoir down Willow Street to Oak in Folkier. I believe the new line was put in, but I think the old asbestos line is still in. Is that correct?
If it met the criteria for our asbestos cement pipe policy, then it would have remained in the ground. And as Uli mentioned, that criteria is a costing component. So if it
Is this to the new reservoir we are talking?
No, this is in Fauquier.
In
In the
Fauquier.
digital system,
Yeah,
yeah.
in Fauquier, yeah. So again, that criteria being a percentage of the overall cost of the project to remove the AC pipe, or if it simply doesn't make sense if it's underneath a road and that road is not going anywhere, then we would leave it.
I don't think it is under the road. The only reason I ask is because when it was put in, it crossed several driveways, and one of them was paved, and it never got put back the way it was.
If I recall this project right, the budget wasn't sufficient to allow for the asbestos removal. I believe the asbestos line is still in Fauquier, needs to be replaced in a future project.
Gotcha.
As part of a future project.
So there's this section that we're working on, the boulevard. That's a separate project that'll be completed next year. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the portion that's coming down from the reservoir along.
That we replaced, but we
did remove some sections of AC pipe.
But not the whole line as we normally would, and that had budgetary reasons at the time. If I recall.
Anyway, the point was if you're not going to dig it up again, there is a section, a paved driveway that did not get repaired.
That we may very well have to. Like I said, I can't remember all the details on that, but that was done after the fact. So that was one where we switched from our own crew to an external contractor, and the budget wasn't in place to do the full thing, including asbestos removal. But that is something we may have to go back to.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have one question back to the community water well. This past winter, we experienced in the middle of the night no water. Something went wrong with it. And of course, on Facebook, people go, what's going on? What's going on? Is there any way that you guys can give a notification on our site to say the water is down right now? I mean, besides us obviously knowing when we have no water at 2 o'clock in the morning.
That was the backup generator was not was not yet commissioned at that time. Was that correct?
Yeah, I believe it was due to a power failure before the generator was installed and operational.
Yeah, because John called me about that one. Yeah.
Because at one time it wasn't to do with power. We had power.
Yeah.
Anyhow, just wondering if if there's an automatic notice that can go out, because I know you must have a notification somehow when that system goes down.
We've got a notification system called Voyant Alert. We use it in all of our regional district water systems, and we send out notifications for any disruption, essentially, and all the water quality advisories and boil water notices, things like that. You do have to sign up to them. Every year when we send out the bill insert, there's information on that sheet on how to sign up. There's information on the website, RDCK website. Very easy to find. You can just go to your system. There's a thing on the right sidebar, I believe, on how to sign up to the Voyant Alert system. So yeah, I mean that we've got a system in place for that. People just have to sign up to it. Can send out a reminder and a link again to the CAC here to get that message out to the community as well.
Yeah,
I really strongly encourage you to sign up for it. It's wonderful.
It also the EOC, the Emergency Services team, does use Voyant as well. So this is a
one-stop shop.
Yeah, a one-stop shop. And if it was in the middle of the night and a power failure and that was the issue, then we wouldn't have been able to send out the notification at that time. No. But if the power was on and you had no water, then that's something that we should be notified of immediately.
I might be able to speak to that. Jay called me one day and asked if we had lost water pressure because at YRB we're so low. I did not, but up where you were, you had none. Yeah. And then I think he fixed it remotely. So I thought it was a software thing.
Just was
Okay.
curious. Yeah, but now you gave the answer how we can figure out to give out, we can put it on the Edgewood site.
Yes.
So there's obviously limitations to it. It's not happening automatically, right? Somebody gotta draft that notice, authorize that notice to go out and to send it out. So initially, we only can send that notice out if we know of it, and if it is in a period of time when we have available staff to send these notices out. So weekend or nights can be difficult. To say the least. So, but generally speaking, the notification system works well, but has its limitations in regards to how quick we can get these notifications out.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. I just wanted to know, and you gave the answer to where we can access it, and then we can put it on the community site.
Yeah, for sure.
And we use that as well when we have construction projects and outages related to that. So yeah, it is convenient.
Yeah, if we move to different stages of water conservation as well, we send it out. So it's like Alex said, yeah, it's a one-stop shop for everything water and emergency related in the RD.
Could you run that by us again, how we get in touch with the
site.
the site for?
I'm gonna send everybody a link to that. I'm gonna send out a couple of items here, including that, okay?
Thank you.
Perfect, yep.
And if you could share that with your community members and neighbors, we would really appreciate it, because it is.
Yeah.
We will do that.
Yeah.
We'll do
I'll
that.
send you a few ways to get to it too. Like I'll send you the direct link to it, and then I'll send you a screenshot and a link on how to get to it on our website as well. Okay?
Good.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So I think we've spoken to capital, non-operating expenses. Short-term loans.
So they can hear your stomach.
So this looks like we're at the end of a loan. Is that what that looks like? Or we
Yeah.
still have an outstanding loan? I see
No, I
20.
think we're at the end of the 2021 loan. I think it was paid off. Paid off this year.
Mhm.
We're still carrying the other loan.
Short-term loans are limited to 5 years,
Yeah.
and that's what we appear to have done here. We are in our 5th year.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We were done with capital, right?
Yeah, we're done with capital.
Transfer.
Yeah.
So the biggest change you see here is in the environmental services fee category, in comparison to what we sent out. My apologies, we do, as Chris indicated, we are in the midst of budget session, do all kinds of calculation in the background. In that process, found out that I made a mistake in last year's environmental services fee budget. There's something that we call operator admin, and we talk about that later on. That's a category that's larger in other water systems than in yours because you have contracted services. But I had a $100,000 mistake in there, so that's a contribution, a transfer that we make within services, and because I had it overestimated with the 180,000 instead of 80,000 in that 2024 budget that carries now forward. Now I have to not only recover that $100,000 that was not coming into the budget, plus I have to account for the real number in the 2025 budget. So accordingly, you see this cost going up in 2025 and then coming back down in future years to a more normal level. So my apologies, that's a correction. As you see, the 2024 cost was lower than the average of the previous 3 years. So and that's why, because I made that mistake.
No problem, Uli. Everybody makes mistakes. Way to own it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't want you to send me to your recreational area that you have out there.
Touche.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if there's other questions on this end
Yeah,
of
the vehicle fleet contribution changed by a few dollars, but
Okay.
very marginal. Actually went down by a few dollars, but that's the only changes I made, and then the interest calculation.
Yeah, the interest, making 1% more on interest than I think our previous assumptions for other years were too low, so 2% instead of 1%. A little more money in the service.
And that's really only a placeholder.
Yeah.
Last year probably would have been in the neighborhood of 4% or so that you made on your reserve balance. Is there specific questions you have on the transfer items in that budget?
For me. Silence is golden.
Except Curtis.
Yeah, exactly. I know you bought your own excavator to help out with the Fauquier water line replacement. Is that what you can continue with in the future, or are you going to contract it out?
Oh, our works are contracted out.
We don't have
Okay.
any of our own equipment anymore, Curtis.
We are just.
Oh, really?
That ship sunk. Yeah.
Okay. I thought I haven't been up to the Fauquier water tank in a while. I thought there was an excavator parked out there.
Yeah, we voted to end that idea. It was tried, and there was certainly validity in having that, but it just didn't pan out, and so I think we voted to end that.
Yeah, I think with that trial, we probably had the worst 2-3 years that we can. We had forest fires, we had COVID, we had challenges finding qualified staff. And ultimately, then we lost our manager at the time, Alex's predecessor. So was just the perfect storm, and ultimately we had to pull the plug on that trial.
I see. I guess my next question would be, instead of putting the whole town up for bid, what if you did like a section just to see what the cost would be?
So, sorry, this is the $300,000 is only a small section of your pipe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I understand.
1.5 sections per kilometer.
Yeah, I know. I know there was 300,000. I guess I could calculate that out to 300 meters or 600 meters, depending how good they did.
So maybe I should, in that regard, that what has changed is that in our last project, we actually were able to interest a couple of 2 local companies to bid on this, and that has helped both in cost and the contractor being familiar with the area. That really helped, and we hope that model continues. And because in previous years we struggled to find local contractors, and the cost was accordingly, right? They all needed to be housed in a cusp or whatever, and then commute back and forth. So with having the access and hopefully continue to local contractors, we hope that has a positive effect on these construction projects, both in regards to quality and cost.
Yeah, get those
And
local.
Curtis, the contractor that we had for Focure was out of Revelstoke. It was out to, Eric Waterfield and Gordy Matchett could certainly have bid on it, but neither of them chose to bid on that. So they were made aware that it would be coming and they didn't bid. So it would it kind of takes that motivation for locals to actually bid.
Yeah.
We still
When
hope.
when somebody local bids or whatever, and you probably know this, do they have to have a certain coverage and everything themselves and responsibility, or can just somebody with a backhoe just go and bid on it?
There's an insurance.
Probably liability.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
insurance requirements.
And that'd be like the same as hydro, like 2 million liability.
It depends on the contract. I think I would have to reference the purchasing policy, but
Yeah, it is not always easy for very small contractors to bid on these things. And there is discussion on staff and board level in regards to what these insurance requirements should be going forward. We recognize that that can be a challenge for very small companies. And we have actually our administrative staff looking at this and providing a report to the board of directors with recommended changes to our insurance requirements.
Yeah, I figured so.
I was just curious. I have a lot of background in excavation and put a lot of thought into it, but it's hard to. It's just a big job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's also a lot to maintain that liability insurance, Curtis, for just yourself. Yeah.
Is there other topics?
I'm good.
Okay. Is everybody feeling full now on this?
Maybe a brief comment in regards to the reserves. As you see, we are pretty well depleting them as we go. The contribution level in the year 2029 is pretty well where it should be if we don't consider the cost of the asbestos removal and the accelerated schedule. So this cost that you see for the 25-year period, the annual cost of $135,000, let's assume we can spread the asbestos removal over renewal of assets over 25 years. Realistically, we have to do that faster, and in most stretches, we'll have to remove the asbestos pipe. So at some point, we won't be able to get around the borrowing scenario. But like I said, we will observe this year after year and have that discussion with you. What our next steps should be. Right now, the increases are pretty well just reflecting inflation, not real increase in rates. So, let's see where we are next year with this, what our cost for that one project is coming back, and in a couple of years, and then we may have to recalibrate that system at that point.
In your grant search, do you include Columbia Basin Trust for funds?
We cast a wide net when we look for grant opportunities. I think we've traditionally looked at that. I don't think
CBT is not really something we have much access to. They are not willing to fund operations, and they consider that our services, our core services. That's not something they want to get into because they know that they might as well give us all their funds anyhow, because that would swallow them up as a whole. So
they also, I don't mean to interrupt Uli, but Bill, if CBT was to give a grant for our infrastructure, in the case of water systems, they're actually supplementing BC Hydro as well as Crown Corporation. So I think that we run into some roadblocks there.
But even for other water systems, unless it is a specific thing, and they haven't done that either, but I could see something like metering, maybe they can be convinced, but so far we have not seen in our water systems anything from CBT. The only thing they funded was many years ago when we had water ambassadors. The startup of the water ambassador program they funded, and then they want to get out of there. So after 2-3 years, they did no longer provide grants because we didn't have sufficient support from our commissions and committees in regards to the water ambassador program. It just fell apart. So, but that was the only time we had access to CBT grants in regards to water systems.
Okay.
All right. I feel like are we done with these questions now? Does everybody feel complete?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I have one more question.
No, there's always Curtis.
I'm sorry.
Of course.
Does the bid on the water line replacement just include labor and equipment, or does the contractor have to supply the pipe and the sand and everything?
Contractor supplies all the materials, correct?
All the materials. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah,
Good
just said that.
Yeah, good question.
Really thinking about it, aren't you?
I have been thinking about it for a long time.
Well,
If
thank you.
if you have more questions specific to contractor requirements, feel free to reach out to me. I can give you more information on that. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
All right. So I think that's the end of our financial plan, isn't it, Alex, then, and Chris? Yep. Okay. I think item number 4 then is just the next assembly. So the next assembly of the Edgewood Water Services Community Advisory Committee will be scheduled in accordance with section of 9(1) of the RDCK Drainage Water and Wastewater System Community Advisory Committee Bylaw 2858. So that's just basically saying that we don't know when the next water service committee will be, but it's yet to be determined. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to chime in.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Uli, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, just that when we have issues arising, either that come out of the community or that we as part of the capital projects or operations identify, then feel free to contact us or we contact you to set up another meeting. So it should be issue driven. If there's specific issues or new information, that could trigger a new meeting, and then we will reach out. We can reach out.
Sounds great.
And always, please, gentlemen, and sorry, Jennifer. I was gonna say Jessica, and I mean, no, it's not right. That definitely always reach out to our staff with questions, as you already know. But I always stress that to people. I'm happy I can't answer a lot of your questions, so.
Well, I want to thank you, Teresa, for all the help you've been to us in our community.
My pleasure.
Appreciate
Thank you. My pleasure. Yeah. I work for you, so, not for a party.
You do a good job.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for and thank you so much, Edgewood, for your continued enthusiasm and engagement. I can't say enough great things about you, so thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a good day.
All right.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Everybody have a good one.
Thank you, staff. Okay.
I know.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
before we start talking about them.